Hi guys, it's Miss Wood. We are on our maybe last snow day, and I wanted to take this opportunity to go ahead and give you an outline for your rhetorical analysis essay because we haven't been to class in a while, and I have a feeling that some of us haven't been working on our essays. So if you did up to what I showed you last time, you're good. Okay. So we can get, with what you've done, we can get a nice outline so that we can do the peer review. And I'm going to show you a really, really straightforward and simple way that you can build your rhetorical analysis essay as long as you have done your reading and your annotations. Now, if you haven't done those, stop and go back, okay? Because you're not going to be able to do this unless you've done the reading, done the annotations. This is not something that you can get ChatGPT to do for you. No, that's bad. We're going to use our brains. So I'm here at home. You might see my cat in the background. Yeah, I got a mess going on back there. You guys know how I live my life. I am not a neat and tidy person. Um, you might see some shadows running around on my porch back there. I've got some bird seed out. There's a squirrel out there right now. So I'm going to share my screen here in just a minute so that we can get focused on our lesson. So what I want to make sure that you have out is if you printed out a physical copy, have that. If you've got your digital copy up, get that. I'm going to share my screen. Make sure I have the right one. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that you guys have everything you need in Google Classroom. I'm going to give you the rubric again. I'm going to give you an outline, and I'm going to give you sentence stems. Okay? This is what you need from me. What you guys have again is your annotated text. Okay? Your annotated text is what you need to bring to the table. So first, let's review the rubric. The peer review, we're going to have to do this in class. So make sure that you guys have something to bring when we do our peer review. You have to describe the rhetorical situation. You have to summarize the argument. You have to explain how they use ethos, how they use logos, and how they use pathos. Then you have to do a fourth thing and synthesize them. So to explain how they work together. You have to make sure that you have an appropriate text. Now, if you guys have done your ethos, pathos, logos homework, you've got that. And we have to use correct MLA citations, and we have to have a thesis. And included in this, before I shift up, we have to have a thesis and we have to have a structure that makes sense. If you follow my outline, you will have a good structure. And then we have to use correct writing conventions. So we need to make sure that things are spelled correctly, our sentences are structured correctly, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, so far, if we're doing things the way I've been describing, we've got all of these bases covered. So we should be getting minimum points just for having this stuff. I want to show you something called a rhetorical précis. This is something that is going to help us make sure that we have the argument summarized correctly and we have all the pieces that we need. Now, a rhetorical précis is a specific paragraph with a very specific format, okay? That's why I'm going to give you guys some templates that you can use. It's 4 sentences, exactly 4 sentences, no more, no less. And it describes the speaker, the context, the assertion or their claim, how they develop the idea, and the purpose of the text, and then their relationship with the audience. So here's an example. So they name the author, they describe their credentials, they use a rhetorically accurate verb like argue, assert, claim, imply, posit, and then they use the word that to state their claim. So here's an example of how that would work. Toni Morrison, a well-known scholar in the humanities, in her essay Disturbing Nurses and the Kindness of Sharks, implies that racism in the United States has affected the craft and process of American novelists. That's the first sentence. So in this one, we have who she is, what her credentials are, what we're analyzing, what she's doing. So argues, asserts, implies, and then what her claim is. That's sentence one. Sentence two is how they do that. So you need to explain what their support for their thesis is. So again, you need to use some verbs here. Compare and contrast, define, narrating, illustrating, defining. Um, and you need to also consider how they use their evidence. So if your author is doing something really specific, let's point that out here. So here's an example. Morrison supports her implication by describing how Ernest Hemingway writes about Black characters and by illustrating his strategies for plot development seen within his novels and short stories. So now I know Toni Morrison, who she is, what she's writing, and what her claim is. And I also know that she's using Ernest Hemingway and his stories to illustrate her claim. Sentence three is author's purpose. You're going to use the words in order to explain why she is making this argument. So it's not enough that we have an argument. They have to have a reason why. Her purpose is to make her readers aware of the cruel reality of racism underlining some of the greatest works of American literature in order to help them examine the far-reaching effects of racism not only on those discriminated against, but also those who discriminate. So now I know her purpose is to let us know that some of the major works that we read have underlying racism, and that racism is not only hard on the victims, it's also hard on the perpetrators. And then the last sentence, it is the description of the audience and the relationship the author establishes. So, here's an example. She establishes formal and highly analytical tone with her audience of racially mixed, theoretically sophisticated readers and critical interpreters of American literature. So we would have to know her venue, her audience, the types of people who would read Toni Morrison, what their beliefs and values are. So she's going in with a formal and analytical tone. And we know that the audience for Toni Morrison racially mixed, theoretically sophisticated readers. So this is another way to say academic people, people who know either racial theory or literary theory, and critical interpreters of American literatures, aka scholars. This is not an introductory level text. Toni Morrison, fabulous as she is not one that I would recommend for beginning readers. All right, so now we know what the précis is, what it does, and what it can look like. I'm going to share some sentence stems with you, and I'm going to practice with my text. So I'm not starting from zero. I'm not going to have to do a whole lot of work. Now, I haven't read this since the last time I made a video. And I'm doing this on purpose because I want you guys to see the process and I want you to see how much of a favor we do ourselves when we do good annotations. Because I bet that a lot of you guys haven't picked up your essays either. So I know that the Venue Substack, these are subscribers who are interested in music and music theory. The audience is educated in music and interested in the culture of music. Here is a bit about our author. And did we have our claim? Here we go. We should start from a framework of skepticism. Now that I'm looking back, oh, that's not his claim. He's like priming the well here. So he's making a claim that we should be inherently skeptical when it comes to AI and how we use it in the music industry. Okay, so here's my outline. Like I said, I'm going to start off with the rhetorical précis. I'm going to leave my outline structure in here because I can always go back and edit it out later. And I'm just going to copy and paste. I'm going to use number one here. Now you can mix them up, do whatever is best for you. But just for the purposes of illustration, I'm going to use them in the order that they appear. Oh, well, I'm doing it wrong. Here's what I need to do. I've got I've got them in different orders. He supports the claim by. All right, now I have my template and I just need to plug it in. Okay, so let's see, what are his credentials? Nashville-based words and audio on music and culture. So I'm going to call him a music theory blogger and journalist. And then his name is Craig Havegurst. Did I spell that correctly? It was like Havegurst, like a gust of wind, a gust of wind. Let's see, Havegurst. All right, nice. In his article, The Sadness of Singing Robots, published. Now, I'm going to put his Substack in April of 2023. Addresses the topic of AI generated music and argues that now, I'm not just going to say we should come from a standpoint of skepticism because that's not enough for my reader to really understand what he's arguing because his argument's more sophisticated than that. He's saying we should be skeptical when it comes to whether AI generated music is authentic music. Now, oh man, I'm not a great talker. Okay, I'm gonna just highlight this because I know now that I might want to come back to this and define who we is, because that's going to be a question that our grader might have. Who is we? Is it me? Is it you? Is it uh I don't know. Is it that guy over there on the corner? Like who is we? So I know I'm going to come back to this, but this is my first pass, so I'm not going to let it stop me. He supports his claim by, and then I'm going to go back and look at some of these signposts that I put in here. Okay, so number one, I see that he's saying that AI music creators are not artists. And then what does he do? And then he says generative AI music is not even music. And finally, let's see what he does down here. Okay, so I'm going to pick up on his argument here that we already have enough bad music. We don't need more generated AI bad music. Finally, asserts that there is enough human generated, I'm just going to call it mediocre. I'm going to use the word garbage because that's what's in my mind. But again, I'm going to highlight this and come back to it because it might be too strong for this early and it might feel like it's our claim. So I want to go back and maybe temper that or reword that because again, that's going to be something that our grader is going to look at. Okay, I'm not going to type this out again. So I'm just going to put have a Gerst whoops, not bold. His purpose is to, now he has several calls of action in here. So I know that he wants the audience to do something in order to, he wants the audience to reject generative AI music in order to preserve the, I'm going to use the word sanctity of music, both for the creators and the listeners. And again, I'm going to highlight that word because I might want to come back to that. Now I have to think a little bit about his tone. And I'm going to call his tone impassioned. Now I'm probably going to spell this right because I don't know if it starts with an E or an I. Impassioned. Oh, I got it right. Tone for his. Oh, did I get it right? Oh, maybe not. Impassioned tone for his audience, the readers of his Substack, and others interested in the topic of, I'm going to call it musical philosophy. All right. Bam. How many sentences do I have? Four. Do I have the rhetorical précis? Yes. So I've also kind of got the situation lined out here. So if I go back and look, the specific rhetorical situation, so that's author, audience, and purpose, and how it functions in the creation and perception of the chosen text. Babe, I think we got it. Now I want to go into a little bit of an argument summary. So since we kind of covered the rhetorical situation with our précis, now I'm going to go here. Now again, what I'm going to make sure that I do is kind of take this one and I'm going to pad that out a little bit. Okay, so this is going to let the reader of our essay know that he is going to, I'm going to put the thesis statement in here too. I'm going to put the thesis statement first. Okay, let's see. Haviger's claim is that uh, I think he's just talking to, like, he says the word we, and he uses like the collective one must argue, one must wonder. So to me, this says that he is not just talking to people who are creating music. Like, he does talk about that, he does speak to that, but he's talking to us as a larger audience as well. So claims that um, we as a society should be skeptical of AI and deeply question its role in the creation of not just music, but because over here he says how we learn, work, and create. not just the creation of not just music, but other tools that impact our daily lives. He focuses on music and claims that generative AI subverts what we consider music. He does lean on definitions, so that's why I'm going to put this word music in quotation marks. And what we consider music in just about, oh my gosh, every conceivable form. He claims that AI music creators are not artists by definition, and that AI music is not music by definition. Again, I'm going to kind of look at this because I feel like this is a little redundant, but it's fine for now. He also he says that it's not even functioning in the way that music should function. Doesn't function or serve the same purpose as human created or created music. All right, so here's this. This is a long thesis statement. It's not in one because we've already kind of got it summarized up there. But this is a little bit more detailed than just like the bam, bam, bam. Okay. He supports his claim that AI music creators, oh my gosh, I'm getting so tripped up. I'm sorry. AI music creators are not artists. This is kind of I'm just going to put this in the same thing. Because I want to add AI generated music even devalues the worth of human generated. Oh, dilutes. Because I like that because I'm going to use the word flooding here. Okay. So now I've covered all of those points. Now, what I can do because I want to make this longer and I want to make this more specific, is drop some small quotes in here. I'm not going to do that quite yet because I want to save the best quotes for my bones down here. Now, my bones are the meat, not the meat, but the structure of my essay. This is where I'm going to explain exactly how he uses ethos, exactly how he uses pathos, exactly how he uses logos, and then the synthesis. Now, what I've done is I've set up a play-by-play argument up here. However, they want to see us use ethos, pathos, logos, and synthesis. So what I can do, I have a decision. I can either continue on with my play-by-play and see, because I had ethos in green, pathos in blue, and logos in pink, and I can see that it's kind of scattered around. Ethos is in how he structures it, kind of the questions that he asks. these high level questions and the quality of the examples that he uses. He does use a lot of pathos here in trying to get the audience to understand how urgent it is, and he does use logos primarily in definitions. So I think what I'm going to do is stick to the ethos, pathos, logos for this essay. Now, you might be looking at your essay and say, um, I think that if I do ethos, pathos, logos, I'm going to be jumping around too much and it might be confusing for the audience. That's okay. That's your call. So if you want to say, let's say the first argument that they're using uses ethos and logos together. You can explain that and do synthesis at the same time. But I'm going to keep it easy for you guys, okay? So let's see if this is the one that makes sense for you. Hopefully it will work for most of us. Okay, so I'm not going to start off by writing my own sentences. I'm going to start off with my bones, which are my evidence from the text. So I'm going to go in here. Let me scroll back in and I'm going to find some ethos. So I have those ones at the beginning, highlighted green. So I might say he starts off with a concession. Put that there. I don't think I want to use this William F. Buckley quote because I don't think it has too much to do with his specific arguments, but it does have to do with kind of the alliance, the rhetorical alliance he's making. William F. Buckley was a very conservative, he says it here, conservative person and almost anti-progressive. So he's making a very, very conservative claim here, saying, whoa, 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 whoa. We shouldn't just rush headfirst into the sun on this AI thing. I also noticed that he's using a lot of direct examples. So I'm going to put, so he has Boomy. What was the other one called? Amper Music. Samples. And then he had that, what was it, Jay-Z? Yeah, Jay-Z. Okay, so I'm going to say that, and then I'm also going to say that, so I think these high-level questions are part of his ethos because they demonstrate a, I want to use love for lack of a better word right now, respect. Whoops. For the integrity of music. So this is kind of like he positions himself as a protector of musical integrity. All right. Okay. I'm going to put that back green so I know that that's actually a quote. Okay. So now I have kind of my bones for my ethos argument. Now let's look at pathos. So again, we just have to go look at blue. So awestruck and frightened. I like that one. I also like the uncertain and unsettling future. I like this long quote. And he kind of comes back to this point later about in hopes of a payout, where he's talking at the end about AI generated music just kind of swamping all of our streaming services. I like this one. I'm going to put this in synthesis because this one connects to his ethos as a protector of musical integrity. I like that green so I know what I'm doing later on. Okay, so I've got two quotes. I might want one more if I can see one more in here. The infinite monkeys, incumbent on everyone. Okay, here we go. I like this one. This is a call to action. All right, now let's look for logos. Logos is pink. Go back up to the top. It is important when we're doing this to try to keep them in order as much as we can. Now, it gets a little bit mixed up when we start doing synthesis because a good author like Mr. Havigerst is going to connect all his threads together. So something from the beginning is going to connect to something at the end, and he's going to make it nice and neat for us. So when we start doing synthesis, we can jump around a little bit, but when we're doing ethos, pathos, logos by themselves, we need to go pretty much in order. So I'm definitely going to drop definitions in here. Prompting generative AI doesn't make you an artist. Let's see. Amber music, noise, recognize summing AI music. Making songs, taking the next step, contemplate the hubris. In that case, you're not joining okay. These are qualities of an artist. I also want to put the definition of music. Now, I did put this one in yellow because this was a key idea, but this is logos because it is a definition. I'm going to put this. This is not a definition, but this is a rebuttal. This is about plagiarism. I can never spell plagiarism. I don't really want to talk about deep fakes on this one. Ooh, I should put this on ethos. definitions. Here we go. Okay, I like this whole quote, but this is too long. So I'm going to put the whole thing in here. However, when it comes time to actually edit my essay, I'm going to pare it down because this is too long, I think. Okay, we have a little bit of synthesis. Okay, so this one is pathos and logos because he's talking about the emotional connection of music. And logically, if you don't have someone on both ends who can emotionally engage with it, then that's not music. It'd be like emotionally engaging with a rock, you know? So this is one of his arguments. I don't know if you can hear my cat meowing. I know. He sees all those squirrels and birds outside. All right, let's look at the last one. This is another, looks like pathos and logos. I think that's good. All right. Oh, hello. Probably going to walk right in front of me. Yep. Hello. All right, now let's do our conclusion. Oops. Okay. So for the conclusion, we're going to make sure that we restate some of our main claims. I have some here. Now, we can say that he's effective. Now, not whether we agree or disagree. Remember, because this is an objective analysis of their argument, we can expand it out, which is always a good idea because this answers the question of why do I care? So what? I like this one for my essay by prompting to consider what music is, but what it's for and why we create and listen to it. Now that might be a little bit redundant for like the what it's for. So I can always come back to that. Okay. However, ask readers, you're making this very, very difficult for me, Mochi, to consider and ultimately reject. All right, come here. I know. Okay. I have to take a cat break for a second. He's being very needy. Sometimes when we're writing, we need to take a cat break or a dog break if you have a dog. Just take a little break. All right, you good? Haviger's asked readers to consider and ultimately reject generative AI music as the inevitable evolution of creativity and technology. Ah, okay, I'm going to leave it like that. Now I'm going to see I have 3 pages here, and this is just an outline. I have 3 pages from an outline, y'all. Now, the next step is we're going to add some meat on these bones. That's going to be the next video, okay? So right now we've got an outline. I've got all of my components. Have I checked off everything that's on here? Almost. So we haven't got the peer review. You haven't done that yet. Not your fault. We have the rhetorical situation. We've summarized the arguments. We've done ethos. We've done logos. We've done pathos. Dude, did we do synthesis? We did synthesis. Did we have a good text? We had a great text. I have not used MLA citations yet, okay? That is coming up. And I don't have the correct structure yet, but I do have a thesis. And this is not in the correct format yet, so I don't have that. So we're going to add some meat and we're going to do some formatting next. So let me uh, stop sharing. Have I? Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's the end of this video. Guys, get some work done because when we finally do come back to school, we need to hit the ground running, okay? So get to work, message me on Remind if you have any questions, and yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Bye.